I got us a brand new clutch, and I've got the flywheel machined, which come up nice. Plenty of meat on that. I did actually check the clutch here that it's the same spline as what's on my gearbox, and that it's the right diameter, because there was like 3 different ones, and I was worried if I went home it'd be the wrong one. I'd hate to go put it all in and then wonder why the gearbox is not going on. But I think what we'll do now is we'll bust out this old spigot bearing. I think I got a new one. Looks like I got 3 new ones. Definitely not that one. Probably going to be this little one. Yep. See, that's what I mean. With Toyota stuff, there's just slight differences throughout all the models. It makes it a real pain when you're trying to buy it, say, off the internet or something. It's not worth the risk, because sometimes you can't send it back, or it takes a 2-week turnaround before you get the parts you want. Now the clutch is still loose in there. When we get this aligned, you've got to undo these 4 red bolts, and that takes the pressure off the springs, which then will give us our full clutch. I'll just check these by hand. So with this alignment tool, it's way too big on the end of it there. I'm hoping, oh, it is hollow. Damn, I wonder how hollow it is in there. I might just have to do it by feel, because no doubt that's going to be hollow in the end there. Maybe I'll quickly put a drill bit through it and just see if it is hollow or not. Oh no, it is solid. Hopefully we can machine it somewhat to size and it works. This plastic feels pretty perfect. So this should fit in there now. Look at that, beautiful. This should normally just slide straight off like that. That moves nice and freely now. Yep, stop there. It's a good thing we ran out of petrol there. Alright, where's the bolt? That all went in nice and easy. With everything greased up and everything aligned, it just slipped straight in. Not like when we took it out, all in here had rust, so it made it real tight to try and pull this thing out. So now we can pretty much go around and button everything up and get it all back together. Well, I went and got the rest of the clutch buttoned up. Because this clutch is all linkage, as the old clutch wore, you adjust up the linkage to make up the play in the pedal. So we've just mucked around and got that all right. So we're pretty much ready to go test it. And just by pushing my foot down and pushing it in gear now, it is so much better. It didn't do that before. Yeah, the clutch is already heaps better. You can actually change gears now. Race truck without all the weight in the back. For a non-turbo, it actually goes pretty well. Let's do a first gear pull. Hammers. Brakes work real well. Still getting a little bit used to the gear stick. There is a little bit of wear in the linkage in the gear stick, which we're going to have to look at. You could definitely tell then I was skipping second straight to fifth. This is a 6-speed transmission as well, so we're going to rest the back on these sleepers here, and then the cylinders, because they hang down. Probably somewhere there, I think. Yep. Just one sec, mate.
And they're probably going to twist it.
All right, just go down, mate.
How far out the sides that hang on your side?
120.
Huh?
Yeah, you could probably go a touch that way, mate, but not much. Yep, that'll do. I didn't think it was going to be heavy. Oh. Yeah.
The other one out?
Yeah. I think that's sitting on there nicely. See, it wasn't as heavy as I thought.
I reckon there's a ton there.
So check it out, I just went and picked up this tipper body and it's not rusted out in the back, which is good. It's got a two-way tailgate on it. It is missing one pin, but it's all nice and straight. It's not like it's got big dents in it, which was good. This one does have twin cylinders to lift up the body. As you can see there, they actually hang lower than the truck chassis rail. So the truck chassis rail will sit sort of there, and then these cylinders poke out the bottom. Come with a hydraulic tank, and it's got an air operated valve, which makes it nice and simple. There's no cables or anything like that. But overall, even you can see underneath, it's still got all the nice paint. There's no rust holes or anything in it. And like I said a minute ago, overall, it's pretty straight. You're right, I think. This dump body is not heavy. The Yanmar picked it up, no worries. Now I can't get under it too much to show you, but because we've got the cylinder brackets right there, and then the cylinders obviously poked down, our muffler here is now in the way. So I'm just going to cut the muffler off right there, and then later on we can just move the muffler literally back further because there's nothing there that's going to obstruct it, and I can just get an extension pipe for just in there where we cut it, because the exhaust pretty much dumps out the bottom on this one. Because this was a cherry picker, obviously the exhaust can't face up because you're going to fume out the guys that are on the cherry picker. Handbrake cable. Let's just hear how awful it's going to sound without the muffler on. Their weld stuck out like nearly, what was that, 6 mil, which was holding us up from going down. So let's try now. There should be enough room. I might lift it back up a little bit, just pull this strap out. I'm not sure how much of that I got on camera, but pretty much where the wheel is in the guard, it can't go back any further. It's kind of not central, which is a little bit annoying, but this back mud guard I could make come back, and the front one I could make almost come vertical, just so it looks a little bit better. And reasoning is because the truck has a riveted cross brace right here, and the frame of the cylinders goes there, and you can see we're already on a bit of an angle, and the more angle we put those cylinders on, the more you're going to lose power when you first go to tip. Like if you've got a full load in the dump body, yeah, we're going to lose too much power putting them on a steeper angle. So pretty much where it is where it's going. Now what I'm going to do is go get some steel, probably just some 75mm by 8mm, and we'll make our plates that come down here and pretty much bolt it all on, and then we can start looking at the hydraulics, which the tank that I've got there, it used to be in the front, which I can literally put it in the back here. There's nothing in the back here. Our hydraulic lines off the cylinders are long enough to do that. And then all we've got to do is probably get a new main line from the PDO pump to it, and basically an air line up to the cab. I've already got the switch for that, so it should all come together pretty good. And then I'd like just to straighten up these guards. I don't think it's worth getting new ones. This is only very thin material. We should be able to, oh, they're all broken, but we should be able to fix them up enough to reuse them for a minute. So for those who aren't familiar with one of these magnet drills, well, I actually refer to them as a slug cutter, because the end result is you're finished with a slug like this. So pretty much, in the bottom of the drill here, you've got your center punch, and that's actually spring loaded. So once you're through the hole, generally that just pushes the slug out and you can sort of keep going. You can also run coolant on this drill. I never do because it just ends up making a mess. All dirt and stuff sticks to it when you're out on the field with this thing. So I generally just have the oil can with me and just give it a couple pumps every time I use it. So when you first line this drill up, it's going to be hard because we've got so much going on here to do this one-handed. You basically clean off the end of your center punch there, wind it down as best as you can, and we sort of get over our mark, and you just put a little bit of load on the end of it, and you can, I don't know if you saw that, it sort of pushes down, and now we know the drill is locked in. So we can come around the back and just flick the magnet on, and you'll hear it. And now she ain't coming off. So now we can pretty much, I haven't been, but I normally just give it a couple pumps there. And we'll come around here, turn it on. And that was actually a great example because we're going through two separate skins or two bits of metal. Once you cut through one, the slug, this, because we've got the center punch in, it won't go through the second bit. You've got to pull the little slug out that you see in my hand, and then you can go again. And it is as simple as that. They're quite expensive. I did pay a fair bit of money for this thing, but it is definitely worth it. Over the years that I've had this, even though it still looks like brand new, but for the jobs I do with it, it just like, if I was to go get the drill and drill bits, you'd be there for a while drilling each one, and they're never a perfectly straight hole. I wanted these perfect. So that's a 14mm bit in there. They're 14mm holes. I might actually go see if I've got a 15mm or even a 15.5. Just so my measurements are never going to be spot on accurate to what we have up here, and I don't want to be putting the dump body down and mucking around and all that. So, and also you'll notice we've got rivets here. So what we're going to have to do is get some 8mm plate, because I think these are 6mm tall, and pretty much get an 8mm plate and sit on here, and then we're just going to have to probably even use this without the slug, without the center punch in it, and we'll just drill down around these rivets enough, or countersink it would be a better word, and then we can sit our plate on. The bolts will go through our new 8mm plate, and that way the bottom of our hinge here sits on the chassis rail hard, not on the rivets. So we'll quickly bust out the other side, and then we'll go make these plates, and this is pretty much ready to be bolted on. So I'm just putting in a 22mm bit, and that's basically, so we've got a bit of movement on those rivets that are in the truck. So we've just done our main holes, and I did those at 16. It's 14mm bolts in there that hold it on. And I did 16 because I want to be able to have a little bit of come and go with those plates. Because again, my measurements are never always right. Yes, and I realise it's flashing, which means we got not a good connection with our magnet, but this is what, 2 inches thick of steel, and we've got about a 1mm gap because it's up on the edge of the jaw, or maybe that's 2mm, whatever it is. But I know the back magnet is pretty much near enough touching, like it'll be fine. You just got to take it easy on those sort of when it's doing that. But I've used it sort of enough to know. If it was on like really thin plate, like say even 3mm, it's hard on 3mm, it doesn't really grab onto very well. But and there's our plates. So let's see how we did. And it goes that way. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Bolts in. Really where I need 2 people. So they're in the holes now. Oh, that's no weight on it. Did we get it? Yes. We managed to get all the bolts in, and at a later date, probably at the very end, we'll just have to come back and lock the back of this chassis off, because obviously as it sits now, we're not going to tip back very far. So I think now we've got to focus on, we'll try and lift the body up, as high as it touches here, and then we can start mounting our frame that the cylinders are on, which will be a lot easier than this, because I can basically magnet me drill on the side and just pretty much weld plates on and drill through them. Well, I think that's going to be all right. It's notched around the middle of the frame there, and if it goes to slide up, it's going to hit the top of the dump body there. And we're not working in between that. We're pretty much going to be putting the hydraulic tank in, so we're going to be lower than the chassis rail there, and then we're going to be virtually mounting plates onto the side here. So we're going to be well safe. I just wanted more of the light to shine in here, and also we've got to slide this forward more now, because if you saw then, it pretty much slid this way heaps. So yep. Well, our pressure side is all done. This is the main hose here from the pump up to the valve here. And if you guys remember back, this is one of the hoses I saved before I scrapped that cherry picker. And the original hose that came with the dump body had a removable end on it. So I was able to cut this hose to suit, put that removable end on, so I didn't have to buy new hoses. I shortened this hose here because I didn't want that loop in it. It just looked a bit messy. And as you can see there, it's got two removable fittings on there. These go straight to our cylinders there. So pressure side is all done. Now tomorrow when the hydraulic joint is open, I've got to get a new fitting for the back of the pump there and a bit more of this hose. This is the main feed line from the hydraulic tank to the top of the pump, or suction line as you would call it. And I've got to get the next size down because the old hose that was on that cherry picker was a bit bigger. Now the last thing we've got to do is just put a bracket in the front to hold the front of this hydraulic tank. As you can see, we've only bolted it in the back and it's quite bouncy, so we'll quickly whip that up and then we can cut the back of the chassis off and basically tip the thing up in the air. We've still got to do the air for the valve there to make it go down, but at least we can test it and go up, and I'm pretty sure there's a manual lever on that valve so we can pull it down if we have to for the minute just to test it out. This is going to be very joyful filling this up. There's not that much room. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm making a mega mess right now. It's kind of unavoidable because I'm at such a stretch. It's hard to lift this. I should have probably done it the other side, that way I wouldn't have had the fuel tank right at my legs. So temporarily I've got this wire here and it's on the manual part of the valve here. Last night I actually came out and hooked up all our air lines. So I've got that air, I've forgotten what the term is for them, but basically it's a switch that operates an air valve. So basically I don't have to run 3 air lines up into the cab. I can just have 1 wire up into a switch in the cab to let the dump body down. But I haven't finished hooking that switch up. We'll do that here in a minute. But I reckon now that we've got our wire here to let the dump body down, we'll fill the cylinders up full of oil so we can take the blocks out of the dump body, because we need to come back here and cut the back of the chassis off. So let's fire the truck up, we'll build the air up and just see if this thing's gonna dump. So there's our 2 air gauges right here. We'll just give it a minute and they'll build up. And our PDO's just back here. I think I'm going to put that switch probably just here. You can see a spot for it. And I'll probably take one of these switches here. Like this one was for the back cherry picker. I mean, there's a variety of switches everywhere in here, but I think those ones, that one's got a light on it. So you'll be able to, I kind of want to hook it up when the PDO's engaged, that light will come on. I wonder if that's going to be enough air. Yeah, that should be enough air. We're probably going to have to check the hydraulic oil, I think. I don't know what that light means. We've got plenty of air. I think we'll get out and just check that hydraulic oil, I think, because they're pretty big cylinders on there. So I had a quick check for leaks and we're pretty good. So we'll just check this oil. I mean, there's a little bit in there, but so I filled it up with pretty much all the oil I have. Now, when I bought this truck, in the ad and even the auctioneer guy said the cherry picker doesn't work. So there might actually be something wrong with the PDO drive on the gearbox. Now, when I flicked it in PDO a minute ago, you couldn't actually, normally you can hear it whining and carrying on. That's when you know, like, you pretty much know it's engaged. And I didn't hear that, and you guys wouldn't either. You'd pick it up on camera. So I'm guessing there might be something wrong with that. don't know what this light means here. Maybe she's jammed up. Oh no, I heard it crunch then. Did you guys hear that? I'll do it again even though it sounds awful, but... So it is working. We've probably just got a lot of air in the lines.
The air's going to hold your valve in the position.
I'd just be careful because if it's over full now, you're going to get coated in oil.
I was going to say, can you hear all the air coming through the tank?
Yeah. You might have to get ready to put that back on because these cylinders are getting close. Hang on, these cylinders are going to get close to this bar here. Yep, stop there, stop there, stop there. Well, that's a problem. We got those rails nicely cut off. So I think now let's tip it right up in the air. I want to see how high it goes. Well, that's about as high as she goes. Still got plenty of clearance on that back chassis rail there. I didn't want to go cutting too much off because if I want to put like a pintle hitch or something on it later, I want to have room to be able to do that. I don't want the drawbar of the trailer to sit real, like so far in under the dump body. Well, everything works. I better not get under it too much. There's nothing supporting it now. We're still got to bleed a lot of air out of the system, as you just saw. It's really slow still. I'll double check the oil, but that should be about right now. And I'm sure once we bleed air out, it'll need topping up. But sort of our biggest problem so far is that C channel up there. That needs to be moved up further so the cylinders don't hit on the frame here. Sort of where it's sitting now, it's sort of the dump body had to go with the mud guards and the wheels and the cylinders in between the chassis rails, because we've got our cross braces here. The cylinders had to go there, the dump body had to go there. So I'm going to have to bust out the plasma cutter, cut off that big mount there and slide it up. And yes, we will lose a little bit of dump body height, but we're only going up about 100 mil, so it shouldn't really change it too much. Well guys, we got a fresh clutch in it, we got a fresh dump body on it. It tips, it actually dries now, so it's coming together pretty good, but we've still got a lot of work to do. We've still got to bleed out a lot of air in that dump body. As you saw, it's still really slow, but at the same time, because this was a cherry picker truck, the pump volumes are going to be so much different compared to a tipper body like that with two big cylinders. It's going to need a lot of flow to push them up fast, compared to a cherry picker, which is real slow and has quite small cylinders on it, so you don't really need much flow with that. So that's another concern really. Pumps aren't dear, but it's just, I suppose I'm trying to keep this sort of build as cheap as possible, and I only paid $1,200 for that dump body, and that was off a 2006 Isuzu, so I was able to make it fit. Yes, we're going to have to cut out that cross brace as I just mentioned, which is going to be a bit of a job. I'm going to probably see if I can borrow my mate's plasma cutter, because his end on his is really small. I might be able to cut it out as neat as possible, where our big plasma, the end on it's massive and you'll end up losing too much material. But it's all coming together. It shifts really nice. This truck actually goes pretty well for a non-turbo, so I'm pretty happy with it. We've got a few other things to tackle on the dump body in the next video. Like, if you've already noticed, there's the rear tail lights are just dangling on the ground. We've got to sort all them out. We've still got to put our switch in here for the dump body to come down. At the minute, to make it go down, I'm just switching those air lines that I showed you earlier, because you need air pressure to push the valve in to make the dump body come down pretty much. So, but I've got to be careful because I can't come all the way down, because like I said, I've got to cut that brace out, the cylinders hit that. And although we're going to sacrifice a little bit of lifting height, it's all going to work properly then. And again, for the $1,200 I paid for the dump body, I really can't complain. So far, I'm into this truck about 8,500, so it's pretty good if you ask me, and it's a pretty clean truck. It's not all grubby and messy. Being ex-government as well, surely it's a pretty good service life, especially with the trucks I've been around that have been ex-council or ex-government. They've always been pretty well maintained. But anyway guys, that's going to do it for this video. The next video on this will be buttoning up everything else on the dump body and pretty much getting this old girl back on the road. But alright, that's going to do it for this one. Let's go do something else.